Do you want to learn how to make green tea that actually tastes good? You've come to the right place. Most green tea you order at a cafe is either flavorless or extremely expensive. But once you learn how to prepare your own green tea at home, you can unlock a whole new world of delicious green teas at an affordable price. By the end of this video, you'll learn how to make green tea that's actually green, how to make green tea in a teapot without teaware, and more. Let's get brewing. So before we talk about how to make green tea, let's talk about how tea itself is actually made. Green tea, like all the other tea types, comes from the tea plant, Camellia sinensis. This is an evergreen, flowering shrub native to southern China. The tea plant is carefully cultivated, harvested, and processed to create the vast array of different tea types we see today. The characteristic that makes green tea unique is that it's unoxidized. This separates it from black tea, which is made from oxidized tea leaves. During the oxidation process, the polyphenols of the leaf are converted into theaflavins and theorubicins, and the tea fades from green to reddish brown. To stop this oxidation process and produce a green tea, the farmer needs to apply heat to the leaves after the harvest. So now that we've talked about how green tea is made, let's talk about how to prepare green tea. We would encourage you to learn to prepare green tea in loose leaf form rather than use tea bags. Tea bags are often a way to disguise lower quality tea leaves, and they can have a flat and bitter flavor. Once you learn how to make green tea with loose leaf form, you'll have access to a whole new world of premium green tea. Don't be intimidated, we're going to show you how. So when it comes to how to prepare green tea, there are 3 factors you'll want to consider. They are leaf to water ratio, brewing time, and temperature. For Japanese green tea, we recommend you use a leaf to water ratio of 5 grams of leaves and 150 milliliters of water. You can brew the leaves for 1 minute and then pour them out of your teapot. So let's walk through it step by step. Step number 1, heating the water. First, you can begin by heating up the water to brew your tea. For this, we recommend to use an electric kettle because it will heat up the water much faster and you can set it to the proper temperature. When it comes to how to make green tea, the best temperature to use is 160 to 175 degrees Fahrenheit. Green teas tend to be more sensitive, so you'll want to keep the water temperature low, otherwise it will become too bitter. Step number 2, preparing the teapot. After the water is heated, it's time to prepare the teapot. We recommend using a clay Kyusu teapot with a built-in filter. Pour some hot water into the teapot, let it sit for 1 minute, and then pour it out. This will preheat the teapot so that it doesn't cool down the water too much when you brew the tea. This is particularly important when it comes to how to prepare green tea because the water you're working with is a very low temperature. So if you were to add this water to a cool clay teapot, it will cool the water off and your tea will be cold. Once the teapot has been preheated, it's time to add in 5 grams of tea leaves to the teapot and get ready for the next step. Step number 3, adding the water. Now it's time to pour hot water into your teapot. We recommend using 150 milliliters of water, which is a little more than half a cup. This may not seem like that much water, but it's the perfect amount for creating a super concentrated green tea. Step number 4, brewing the tea. Now it's time to put the lid on the teapot and let the green tea brew for 1 minute. This is the perfect brewing time for most types of Japanese green tea like sencha, hojicha, kame-iracha, bancha, and more. One exception is gyokuro, a special Japanese tea made from tightly rolled needle-shaped tea leaves. This tea will take a full 2 minutes to open up and release its flavor into the water. Step number 5, pouring the tea. Once the brewing time is up, it's time to pour out your tea. The built-in filter inside the teapot will separate the leaves from the water as you pour. This will stop the infusion and make sure no tea leaves end up in your cup. So if you're wondering how to make green tea, we strongly recommend you get a Kyusu teapot. This will give the leaves more space to open up and release a richer flavor. If you don't have one, the next best thing to use is a tea strainer. To make green tea in a strainer, simply follow the guidelines we mentioned before, but instead of using a teapot, position the metal strainer inside a cup and let the tea leaves brew inside it like a basket. This tea strainer will allow you to stop the infusion at the perfect time and keep the tea leaves out of your cup, but you won't get quite as rich of a flavor as you would with a teapot. So now that we've talked about how to make green tea, let's dive into the details and talk about how to make green tea taste better. If you find that your green tea is too bitter, you might be brewing it too hot. Green tea contains catechins, which are bitter compounds, and these are released at higher temperatures. If you use water that's too hot, you'll release a lot of these catechins and end up with a bitter brew. You may find that the flavor of your green tea leaves something to be desired, and you might be wondering how to make green tea that tastes more flavorful. The trick is to respect the proper leaf to water ratio. We might be used to using a small pinch of tea leaves and a large quantity of water, but for Japanese and Chinese green teas, it's best to use a larger amount of leaves and a smaller amount of water. This gives you a smaller, more concentrated infusion with an explosion of flavors and aromas. So now that we've talked about how to make green tea, let's learn how to make green tea cold. Cold brewing can be a great method to learn, especially when it becomes warmer out and you want a nice refreshing green tea. All you need to do is take a pitcher or a glass, add in 5 grams of tea leaves, and pour in 500 milliliters of cool or room temperature water. Next, you can stick this in the fridge and come back in 3 hours. Now you can pour the tea through a strainer to separate the leaves, and voila, you have a cool, refreshing cup of cold brewed green tea. So now let's talk about how to make green tea that's actually green. When you search green tea, you'll be confronted with images of teas that are bright green in color, while most of the green teas you come across will be yellow. So how do you make green tea that's actually green? For that, you'll have to find the right kind, and we've picked out a list of 3 super green teas we think you'll love. Number 1, the Shizuku Sencha. This tea is made by combining tea leaves and matcha powder. The matcha powder mixes directly into the water to create a cloudy green infusion. This tea works particularly well as a cold brew. Number 2, the Fukumushi Yamaga. The Fukumushi Yamaga no Sato is actually steamed for a longer time, so the leaves break down a bit and you're able to release more leaf material into the tea. This creates a vibrant green infusion and a smooth, fruity flavor profile. Number 3, the Murasaki Sencha. The Murasaki Sencha is another deep steamed or Fukumushi style tea produced in southern Japan. Like the Yamaga, it also takes on a cloudy green color and a rich, fruity flavor profile. Both of these teas also work exceptionally well as a cold brew. So thanks so much for taking the time to watch this video. I hope you found it helpful when it comes to making green tea at home. If you have any questions about how to make green tea, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. We would really appreciate it if you could support this channel by going to neoteas.com and trying some of our delicious Japanese green teas. After traveling around Japan for the past few years, we've met with dozens of farmers and sampled hundreds of different types of teas. We've ultimately selected a small handful of our favorites, and we're happy to share them with people all around the world with free worldwide shipping. Try them out and let us know what you think.